How y'all doing? I hope you're doing okay. Checking my sound settings, as always. And the show has already started. Anyway, the one that's always making all that morning noise is Decker. Decker gets vocal when he doesn't get what he wants. But anyway, how y'all doing? I'm gonna start out with a young lady in a. I've been missing. I was missing yesterday. I apologize for that, but yesterday was just a day. It was just a day of day. It was a day. I've been having a lot of days like that. I think I have my friend said I have a very low threshold for frustration at this juncture, and I do. So I try to, but that's important to know. That's important to know that there's only a little space between me being fine and me losing it. See, if I know that, I take 30% off of whatever comes in my way. Like if I have a relative call or she says something, I take 30% off for misinterpretation and my low threshold for frustration in this particular season of my life. So anyway, I also want to talk about the acquisition of information. Some young lady, she was so sweet. We ended up talking about menopause last time, right? And we were laughing, and a couple of ladies were laughing in the comments too about, their experiences in the jungles of womanhood. What goes on? What goes on? All the fights you have with your husband about turning the heat down. But anyway, she said she had a few symptoms. She says, oh my goodness, it's so great to know what it is. You don't know what it is. I'm a judge. I happen to have gone through menopause. And a lot of people go through menopause, but there's a lot of reasons, a lot of things that can cause menopausal symptoms. So I don't want you to go to the doctor. And I think we're too readily, if you like somebody or if they think they're interesting or if they're on a show you like, when we listen to guys in sports talk about, well, I don't know, I don't want to put it like that, but you gotta understand, just because somebody does something well in one arena doesn't mean it's not necessarily horizontal. Now, the intellect can go horizontally and all over the place, but your expertise is in one place or another. And, we should talk all the time about what's going on and what's happening between us. But don't make no conclusions until you see your doctor. That's all I'm trying to say. Everybody out here, I remember I was watching this thing and oh, that's a bar, oh, that's a gym. And everybody's looking to look cute, gyms and bars, most things are complex. So if you got down into a gym or a bar, you're probably missing a few nuances. That's all I'm trying to say. Not that I don't like to drop a cute phrase here or there, but I do want to own my limitations. Do you see what I'm saying? I want to own my limitations. And the reason I got on owning my limitations, because I got a comment from a dude, and it's interesting. The comments I get from men are different, and I guess they should be different because they're men. But it's just there's a sense of, I don't know, maybe not, maybe I'm misreading it. If I'm misreading it, let me know. I haven't shared all the things that I've gotten, so some of the things that I've gotten may have skewed my vision, may have adjusted my lean, and we're going to talk about my lean in a minute. But before we do, we've said this. I had a post where I was talking about my mother's rules, and someone said, "What do you do when the book is wrong? Do you still go by the book?" First of all, no. Why would I do that? And second of all, if the book is wrong, we correct it in what we write next or what we say. And at some time, at some point, most books are always wrong a little bit about something, because time and intellect and reason often make beliefs that we had on, year A not so tenable in year 20, in year 25. Now see, I mixed my metaphor. Year A or year Z. See what I'm saying? I watched World War Z with Brad Pitt, and I like that movie. But anyway, that's where I got Z from. But anyway, so if the book will necessarily be wrong about some things, but that's the whole point of I give you examples of how mother or I got to the rule that we got to. So you can, through your own process and procedure, assess what you believe is the value of the rule. And then there will always be different rules. Things will change. I will evolve. If I'm still spouting the same stuff now than I was then, means some of it stuck. But it doesn't mean it all stuck. And I tell you what I did. In my mother's rules, I actually have my books. Isn't that exciting? In my mother's rules, I think it's on page 29. I'm not sure. Nope, it's not. I never get that right. I list all the things that are wrong with me. And I used to have it memorized, and I could list it off. It was really funny because I could blah, 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 blah. And I wrote this. It took me I published it in 2007, I think, but it took me forever to get there. So in 2019, I wrote this book. And I wasn't going to write this book because I wanted to write it to young ladies. And my thing is, most advice needs to be fairly specific. And not like if you do A, you should do B. It's like, well, you've got A, B, X, and C to consider. We've got 1, 2, 4, and 9 to work with. How do we best make this combination something that you can get something out of? We all evolve. And if you didn't evolve, you stopped. So what I did was, when I wrote this book, I was concerned that I did not want to speak from a place of, I know what I'm doing, and I'm telling you what you should do. I wanted to speak from a place of, I've been through a few things, learned a few things, had an opportunity to see some things en masse from a bench, from the television. And here's what I got out of it. And here's what I got out of my mother, who took a child who was just horribly shy and allowed her to become this. So I wrote this book because I didn't want to rewrite a memoir, because I had the backup in this book. I had the memoir. I had what I was through a little girl and how I got to this position. That. So you can make your own conclusions about how reasonable the conclusions I made were. But I wasn't going to write all that again. Don't nobody want to read about that twice. So what I did was, it took me a minute, but I figured out on chapter 1, I don't know if it's chapter 1, I don't pay attention. I wrote Mylene. Since I don't know you as individuals, you need to know me as best you can as the individual I am, so you can take my perceptions and like I always say, You see the present through the prism of your past. Some people see things dark. Some people think things like they're half empty, half full. There are all kinds of different ways. People who are nervous, people who are not nervous, people who are brave, all kinds of things. So I wanted you to know what particular lean I had. And then I decided to call it a lean and not a perspective, because a perspective sounds like a fixed point. This is the perspective from the top of that hill. But see, I don't ever want to be in a fixed point. I want to be able to move. Get up a little, do a little better. Well, move, because if my leans don't change, that means I haven't learned anything, or that I've learned something and haven't put it to good use. So you have to. This is how I lean, and I may lean less or lean more, depending on the news that I get. But some of my lean is genetically determined. So I ain't do nothing about that. But I let you know, so you know how to take it. And the funny thing is, I wrote everything that was wrong with me in this book, I wrote everything that was wrong with this book, 2 separate lists. They sync up in spots, but it's a list, because I was a different person. Completely. Not completely, but, I was different. So I wanted you to know how I was different. So there you go. That answers that. And I can't find a name. I swore I was going to write it down. Every post. And I always click on it and laugh and say something about it. And I never forget to write her name down, whoever you are who keeps saying. And subscribe and notify and post a notification. But she puts it on the thing every time, because I never say it, so I said it. Terrible headache. I've had one let's not go there. Oh, and there was this one, Deneen Jeffries. She is a woman after my own heart. She said something, don't worry about being a loner. Doesn't make you weird or lonely. Just well-adjusted, you can entertain yourself. And I think that is so right, and I think that is so true. But I think I'm going to have to lean away from that just a little bit, because first of all, I appreciate that she appreciates it. Hey, we loners, and we're not defective. We just fine by ourselves. But I've been reading this other book called Happy, longest longitudinal study done in Harvard on outcome of happiness, and it's the strength and the number and the quality and the value of relationships that you have beyond any other measure. And they've been doing this study for 80 years. So I think that, though I naturally tend towards, being reclusive, I believe that I am going to have to get uncomfortable and start including myself in other things. Now that the frantic is worn off and the grief is manageable most days. And now I just have a headache all the time, because I'm like, he was next. We had a whole next plan. And I got to change a lot of things, because I have to evolve into someone who could survive happily in this circumstance. It's fun being a loner when you had a loner dude with you, and then when you could be alone together anyway. And he understood I needed to be alone. It was just wonderful. But anyway, I hope y'all have a good day. If you want to ask a question, it's in Linktree. Click on it, Ask Judge Lynn, just roll that sucker out there. And you can do that. Did you notice that the tangent train did not come out? and my hands withstood, for the most part, busying themselves in my hair. I want all progress to be duly noted. And I want all y'all to have a good day. I'm going to take an aspirin or something. Go outside in the sunshine. Walk around. Ooh, maybe I'll take Zora on a walk. Who knows? Y'all have a good one.